Hello Internet, and welcome back to Lone Craftsman. Today we're building a couple 2x4 projects to upgrade the shop and make breathing just a little bit easier. So without further ado, let's get started.
Parkour! In a world where shortcuts seem to be the norm, there's something to be said about taking the road less traveled. Meet the 2x4. Humble, sturdy, and oftentimes overlooked. While plywood seems to be the go-to choice for most, at least that I can tell, consider this. With a few 2x4s, you can not only save a penny or two, but also hone your craftsmanship in the process. I've decided a while ago that if I'm building anything for the shop or a tool, I will limit myself to almost exclusively 2x4s, and maybe a scrap piece of plywood or two if it's just lying around. But having to build these panels from raw, knotty, twisted and warped Home Depot lumber gives me a lot of practice I wouldn't get if I were to start with a nice, flat, square, uniform sheet to get all my cuts from. I get practice getting precise cuts, practice managing the limited resources in the best way. Every project with 2x4s is a lesson in accuracy and resourcefulness. Sure, it'll take a little bit more effort, maybe a lot of bit more effort. But if you're a builder yourself, or you like crafting anyway, you know we're not doing this because we like to take the easy way out. It's about pushing yourself, your limits, and growing as builders, honing the craft. Or at least for me, gaining enough skills to pretend that I have a craft. Well, that's at least the monologue I gave myself to justify spending 4 hours working on these panels instead of an extra $10 buying plywood. I don't currently have a dust separator, so I have to hook my vacuum up directly to the tool like some kind of plebeian. And that is why you should look where you put your hands. That is a chunky boy. Jeez, that thing is huge. I will scrap that. Well, at least this makes for some sweet, sweet camera action. I hate my life. I don't want to kill you, Mr. Spider. I don't want to kill you. Oh, you better not be able to jump. I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. Ugh. Be a good little spider. Look at that guy. Better not have laid eggs. Ah. Alright, spider's in the yard somewhere. And we'll just give it a couple days before it comes back. Freaking pacifist. Alright, where was I before that spider rudely interrupted your scheduled broadcast? screw into these things and fill them with glue, you might want to double check that your wheels turn. Now, as for the dust separator itself, I looked a lot to see if I could find anything to do DIY online, and Chris Notap, who is a YouTuber with great DIY videos, I highly recommend you check him out. He is an intelligent, smart, very charming human being. He had a great starting point. In his video, he has explains the entire way to build through, but as I started building, I realized it only works if you have the exact same vacuum separator and table saw he has. So it was a great starting point, but almost everything I had to make up on the fly. The only thing, his vacuum attachment and his cyclone that actually goes in, you'll see in a minute, were awesome, and the entire video was worth it just alone to get those ideas. So the question remains, why am I using Home Depot buckets instead of spending $50 on a cyclone that I could attach to a Home Depot bucket? Well, I don't like spending money. Also, it's kind of nice to build something yourself from scratch. And if you are anything like me, you have a couple Home Depot buckets just lying around. All in all, I think I only spent $5 building this cyclone and this dust separator. This part isn't as easy as he makes it look. Should I screw something up?
Now that we've created this nice angled surface, it'll fit right into that rounded surface on the top of the other bucket. Just put it on top and give it a good push downwards. Give it a good push downwards.
Yeah, come on.
Give it a good push downwards.
Ah, thought I had it.
Give it a good push downwards.
Yeah, you piece of penis.
Good
Yeah, penises.
push downwards.
Motherfucker.
Give it a good push downwards.
There we go. It's all it takes. Super easy. I'm lying. Alright, so I changed this up a bit because it was compressing too much, and Chris Notap is a dirty little liar.
Give it a good push downwards.
It is so much harder to connect these two. After they're unconnected, spent over half an hour trying to connect them. Like, I don't want to do that every single time I have to change it out. So I cut another bucket, pretty much cut it right along this line here and shoved it in. And this will hopefully help it from compressing. I cannot for the life of me get this undone. So that's going to go right in there. Another Home Depot bucket. Cut it right below here and right above the bottom. And this is going to go inside. Like so. I might use screws, but I'm going to see how it works just like this. And then this, I had a while ago, just goes right on top. How much airflow and suction does this lose? I don't have airflow testers or anything like that, so I'm just going to test this the best way that I know how. Okay, let's try it with the extension and everything instead of just a vacuum. Yeah. So I'd say I lost about 10, maybe 15%, but that's fine. Now on to the air purifier. And don't give me crap, I know I'm using plywood here. Oh, how dare I use plywood after that monologue about using 2x4s? Look, I had scrap plywood lying around, I needed to build a shroud, And above everything else, I like saving money. 90% of both these projects is still 2x4. The only plywood I'm using is essentially this, and then some 1/4-inch plywood on the base that I had to use. And then a little bit of plywood around the top to serve as a sheath for the shroud. Now, unlike the dust separator, this is something I think is much more economical. One sec. Economical. Looking online, finding air purification systems that are roughly the same size, this would cost anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. Well, at least for the ones I find that move about 6,000 CFM. I'm building this out of the scrap plywood that I had lying around. I know it's not 2x4, leave me alone. And one 2x8. Oh, and an industrial fan and 8 filters that are MERV 13. And some casters. But that's it. At the end, I'm going to go over the difference in value, how much I spent versus how much I could have spent if I bought something, and how much money I saved. So you'll get to see exactly how much this saved me. This 100% has been worth it. See, look, I'm using 2x4s again. Far from perfect, but this is just an excuse to use hand tools to finish it up. Whoa! Hand tools too? Holy crap, this guy's like a real woodworker. And I'm going to do the same thing, throwing dust everywhere, except I'm going to have this fan on the opposite side of the shop on and see how long it lasts. All in all, it took about 3 minutes for there to be no dust. Now, instead of having you sit here and watch the full 3 minutes, this is just time-lapse so that you can see it go by much quicker. The distance between where the camera is and that purifier in the back is about 17 feet. Now, the fan I bought moves 6,300 cubic feet per minute. My shop is about 2,000 cubic feet. Not square feet like some people's shops, cubic feet. And it took about 3 minutes, which I think is pretty good. If I had this centrally located, it would probably only have taken a single minute. But the fact that I have this on the far corner of where I threw the dust, getting rid of it in 3 minutes, I think that's awesome. So, how much did I spend on this project? I'll go through the itemized list. 2 2x4s by 8, each were $373. One 12-foot 2x4. The vacuum is 16-gallon. I spent $129 on it, or that's how much it would cost today. The bits and bobs from Chris No Taps video, around $5. 16-foot hose that you see me attaching to it, bought that for $19.99. And I used a total of 4 buckets from Home Depot, each costing $4.48. If you total all that up, that is $186.35. But there's a chance you have most of this at home. You probably already have a vacuum. You probably have some Home Depot buckets. I spent a total of $34.43 on this project. Now let's move on to the air purifier and see how much we spent on that. The one 2x8 stud, $13.52. The casters, about $10. The fan itself, $89.99. The filter, I got MERV 13. It's the highest MERV I can get without breaking my balls on the cost. Came out to $11.16 each. I had a total of 8 of them. The plywood I had just lying around the shop. But if you were to total how much plywood I used, if you were to buy it yourself, it came out to $16.27. The 1/4-inch plywood and $8.75 for the 1/2-inch plywood that I built a shroud out of. And if we total that up, that comes out to a total of $228.24. Combined, I spent $260.67. Now, you might be asking yourself, spending $270 essentially worth it for this? In part, yes, it's good for your lungs, but the fact that after building this, my wife stopped nagging me, you can't put a price on that. You really can't.